this is Maggie, and welcome to another YouTube video. So, okay, hold on. Before you scroll to comments and want to start throwing stuff at me, I know what you're thinking. I'm not really sure what I'm going to name this video right now, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be something along the lines of drawing characters from projects that I hate. And I know that sounds awful and like rage bait, but listen, stick with me, okay? The point of this video is not going to be to bash on these projects because that's just not constructive or fun. No one wants to see that. But to try to be fun and constructive about it. Some of you don't know this, but I have a bachelor's degree in animation and visual creation. I literally spent years of my life studying how to make a lot of the projects that I'm going to talk about right now. And I also grew up in the era when indie shows and projects were having their major boom and moving from platforms like YouTube and Newgrounds onto, television studios and actual productions. And I think because of that amalgamation of life experiences, I think I have a really fun way of looking at a lot of these projects. And instead of, being a little shithead and just saying, oh, I hate this because gross, I think it would be a lot more fun to, openly talk about this. And as you're gonna see, I'm going to draw these characters anyways as like a peace offering. I don't mean to hate on fandoms. We are going to talk about the fandoms because, again, indie projects do have very strong relationships with their fandoms. I think that's kind of inevitable. But the point of this video is not to bash on people who like this, it's just to talk about the series themselves and my own interactions with it. So I shall draw your blorbos for the sake of it being a peace offering, okay? For this video, we are going to talk about projects like Welcome Home, The Amazing Digital Circus, and Hazbin Hotel. Also, I'm sure I'm gonna have to edit the voiceover of this video, but I'm not gonna be as strict with it just because I want to get this video out and I want to be a bit of a rambling video. You're gonna hear me ramble a lot. That's what this video is for. One more thing. The same way that I'm going to be civil in this video, I am expecting the same thing from you guys. I know, again, a lot of these fandoms have really strong, passionate feelings about their creators, their source material, and I do expect that the same way that I'm going to be civil, I expect you guys to be civil in the comments, okay? We're not here to bash on people who like this for one reason or another. I don't want to see anyone being a little shit in the comments. I swear to God, I will find you. So we're just going to be civil, and we're going to be chill, and we're just going to talk about little cartoon guys, because that is what we are here to do. So, without further ado, let's get started. So first things first, I want to talk about Welcome Home. To those who don't know, Welcome Home is an ARG created by Party Coffin on Twitter. I'm not sure if they still have a Twitter, but that's where the project got its beginning, so Party Coffin on Twitter. And the project is, again, as I said, an ARG website about the restoration and preservation of an old puppet show called Welcome Home. In the website, which is an actual website you can go and visit, which is insane, you can see a lot of the things not just about the show itself, but the team that is preserving the show, that is looking for episodes and source material and merch. As you dig more and more into the website, you can start to find a lot of weird things. There's a lot of weird themes that these cartoon characters used to talk about, and it's a little surrealist and kind of, we are puppets, but are we alive? It's fascinating, genuinely. So my first introduction to Welcome Home was around its biggest boom on Twitter, which was around early 2023, from what I can remember. And this was one of those things that, like, once it was out, it was everywhere. Every mutual, every artist on Twitter, you couldn't go anywhere without finding people drawing and talking about these guys. With reason, their designs do look very, very cute, and I love them. They look super silly. But unfortunately, I feel like that was where my first issue with things appeared. I do have a little problem consuming media. I will admit it right off the bat, that if I see something showing up out of nowhere on social media and I cannot escape it for the life of me, I will immediately dislike it. It's just like getting stuff not shoved down your throat, because I think that's not what was happening, but I just see it everywhere and that's all everyone's talking about, obsessively so to a point. I think I will immediately get turned off from it. That is something that has happened very often with other stuff stuff that I do like and do not like, but I'm happy to say I have been working on that and it's gotten a lot better since 2023. Plus, I do remember there being a lot of early drama in the community with the creator really not enjoying what the fandom was doing with their characters, which is bound to happen if something explodes super quickly the same way this did. Fandom is not gonna know boundaries. Sometimes they're just not gonna respect them at all. Unfortunately, that is something that happened, and I remember it became a bit of a drama in the community. So I already had a bad bias against this. I saw that there was a lot of drama, so I just did not touch it at all. I didn't talk shit about it either. I don't think that was the point. I just did not care for it. It was out there, it was doing its thing, and I was in my own corner. So, flash forward to December 2025. The FNAF 2 movie came out. It was super cold, and I went out with friends in the middle of the night to go see it. Once we left, it was already past midnight. We were taking our train back home, and one of my friends decided to sleep at my place. And as she was looking through her phone, she saw, hey, that Welcome Home website just got a new update. And I was like, oh, it's that thing back then. I remember that. And she begged me to look through the website. She thought, hey, since you have, your own website with secrets, you're probably gonna like this. So I did, extending an olive branch because my friends like these things. And I do realize I can't be too mean about it because that would be really insensitive. I don't exactly understand what the update was. I do remember that it was about this character named Frank, and there were like a bunch of bugs, like literal insects hidden across the website, and you had to find them, click them, and you would get videos and pictures. There was like a lot of secrets, and it was so fascinating. I need you to understand. Picture like me and my friend at 3 a.m. Everything is like dead quiet. There's nobody else home, and we're just looking through this website with our heater just pumping into the room because it was the middle of December. And again, that is something I'm going to talk about in a lot of these projects. I did eventually turn around to liking these things. Again, I don't really follow Welcome Home anymore because I'm just maybe not the target audience. But from what I've seen, I have completely changed my mind on the series. It looks super fun. I do really love stuff with like hidden websites and ARG stuff where you gotta go digging through code and images. And now that I know how to do that, it is a lot more fun to interact with these projects. I don't follow it anymore, but since the last update that I did see was around December last year, as the time of writing this, I believe the series is still going on, and I wish it nothing but the best. I'm not sure I'm gonna keep up with it because again, I kind of have my plate filled right now, but I wish it nothing but the best, and I'm happy to say this was an example where I did change my mind about it. Next up, we are going to talk about the amazing Digital Circus. I don't think this one needs introduction. I'm pretty sure everyone who is here knows exactly what the amazing Digital Circus is. I'm probably just gonna call it Digital Circus or TADC throughout the video for the sake of brevity. So my first exposure to this series was not when the show came out, because it kind of flew under the radar because I pretty sure I was busy getting really into Deltarune, but was when all the bootlegs started showing up at local stores. There were plushies, there were keychains, and I need you to understand that this happened around the time where scary Roblox games and kid horror slop was something really new and people were talking about it. The first impression that I got from this was like, oh, it's probably another kid horror slop, so I'm not gonna look into it, which I know, kind of mean from my part, but again, the market back then was like super saturated with a lot of bad things, so a lot of people were just predisposed to things like this. Regardless, I realized, hey, this is like an indie animation series, let me go watch it, even if, again, I do have a negative disposition for it. I do like to give things the benefit of the doubt, because I can absolutely be wrong about things. So, I watched the first episode. A few months after it came out, it already had like a bunch of million views, and I wasn't a huge fan of it. Genuinely. I think it was nice, the show looked fine, the animation was cool. I wasn't a huge fan of the designs because I think they either looked too simple or they just didn't make any sense at all. Again, not for me. And I just wasn't a huge fan of like the loud, chaotic humor that again didn't make any sense. So I watched it and I just had my opinions about it and I didn't interact with it much more after that. And again, I'm gonna mention it again because it is kind of in my notes. But hey, it's a popular indie animation. Again, this was the beginning of like children's horror slop and scary Roblox games, so I kind of lumped it in with those types of content, and I never gave it much attention after that. I think something else that really made me dislike this show right off the bat was that it was getting picked up by a lot of the children content slop, Elsagate stuff on YouTube, and I perfectly understand that. It's not the fault of the creators of the show, obviously, but it was again that same issue that I had where it was everywhere and I couldn't escape it, and that just made me immediately frustrated about the series. But something that ended up actually happening, which I thought was actually really good, is that a lot of the release dates for the episodes about this series were when I was doing my streams on Discord. So a lot of the people came in there like, hey, in 30 minutes, the new episode comes out. And I was like, you know, the kids want to watch it. I can stream it and we can all watch it together. And I watched a few episodes, not all of them, but I did watch a few episodes. So these are the ones that I watched. I watched episode 3, which was the one in the Haunted Mansion. And I actually really liked that episode. It made me like Kinger a lot. I do love me a guy whose whole character is that he has a dead wife and he really misses his wife. I love characters like that, so you know, I like Kinger. I like this guy. I like his issues. But again, it still suffered from a lot of the things that I didn't like in previous episodes, such as the random, loud humor, and something that I really found that I didn't like in the series was that there was no stakes, there were no consequences to the actions. You did get to learn a lot about the characters and how they interacted with each other, and I understand now that that was probably the focus of things. But since it was, again, an amazing digital circus, there were no consequences. Characters didn't die, they didn't learn anything, they didn't have character arcs, at least in the beginning. And I really disliked Kane because he was very much a Deus Ex Machina kind of plot device because, oh, you don't like this thing? Well, let me just stick it away and we don't have to talk about it. And it happened a lot, and I really did not like that because I felt that it was a plot device that if the writers ever wrote themselves into a corner, they could just make Kane do something to fix that. Again, that's not what was happening. I will explain this later on. But that was my first impression of it. Then I didn't watch any of the episodes before episode 7. I know you didn't watch the series. This is not a series review. This is my experience with the series. Please don't be mean about it. Episode 7 was the beach episode, which again, wasn't a huge fan of it. It solidified my previous issues with it not having repercussions or stakes to the story. Plus, it just made me hate Kane so much. I think a lot of people, they didn't really have issues, but they did realize that Kane was this untouchable, all-knowing character, which can be well written. I do compare him a lot to Bill Cipher, which I think is also a chaotic, let's create chaos without any reason character that was really well written because, again, there was stakes, there were flaws to him, and he was incredibly well written, and I didn't find that in Kane a lot. So, again, that was reinforced by episode 7. And then episode 8 came out. Once again, we watched this all on stream because people wanted it. Apparently, they were super hyped about it. And again, I have a lot of friends who do like the series and they tell me about it, even if I can't accompany them. You know, let your friends ramble to you about stuff they like. And they were like, oh, we are all super excited about this episode because it's been having a lot of really cool teasers, really lore heavy. And I was like, okay, the kids want to watch it. Let's put it up on stream so we can all watch it together. And then I felt something. Again, to me personally, this episode 8 fixed all the previous issues that I had by establishing Kane as like an actual threat to the main cast. He had really complicated feelings about maybe not being the first AI that the company that created him made him. He has a lot of issues about being accepted by his peers and wanting to make them happy, but never seemingly being able to because he's an AI, so he's missing a lot of the humanity needed to connect with the other characters. And I thought, okay, this is really good. Why didn't we do this in the previous episodes? And maybe they didn't, it was more subtle. Again, I didn't watch a lot of the episodes, so that is absolutely on me. I really like the fact that a lot of motives and gimmicks established in other episodes kind of came back to haunt the narrative, especially what happened with Jax in episode 7, that he chose to stay in the circus, and how that affected how everyone else looked at him and how he felt about this whole shenanigan that was going on with Kane. I love that Kane kind of freaked out and went actually like, I'm gonna fuck shit up on them, and then he immediately died. Listen, you cannot make me enjoy a character a lot in one episode and then immediately kill him off. All my favorite characters end up dying. It's a curse. I have never been able to escape it. And I was hurt, but you know, I was interested. You got me. You got me there. I am down. So, where does all this go? I know the finale leaked online, in Portuguese no less, which means I can watch it perfectly fine and understand what's going on. I'm choosing not to. I think I got a few seconds of the intro spoiled for me on TikTok, but thankfully nothing that was really lore heavy, so I have been mostly blind about it. Regardless, I have my movie tickets bought since like last month. I am not the target audience for this series. I think I've made it really clear. I have a lot of issues with the plot, with the character designs, with how characters interact with each other. But that being said, the precedent for something like this ending up in movie theaters is unheard of. I genuinely think Iron Lung, Markiplier's movie, opened a door that had been sealed shut by, big Hollywood for a very long time. I think this is the start of something genuinely good for indie projects as a whole, that being series, ARGs, movies, whatever it may be. So again, the series itself is not my cup of tea, but I'm still curious. You hooked me. And because of that, I really want to support a title in the indie animation and see this show go out with a massive bang. At the time of reading this, it is May 27th. I'm going to be watching the movie in June 4th, and we will see how it goes. And last but not least, Hazbin Hotel. Again, this one does not need an introduction. This is going to be a little heavier than the other ones. Again, I'm not going to talk shit about it. I am going to mention stuff, but I'm not going to harp into it, okay? I could sit here and regurgitate everything that you have already seen everyone talk about online. The character designs suck. They blend into the backgrounds too easily. None of the characters are well written. Shipping characters has been prioritized over the actual plot of the show. They fall into a lot of very harmful stereotypes. You've already heard of all that. That's not what I'm here to tell you, because then that would just be harping on something we have already established. I'm gonna start this with the best way that I know how to do it. I was a fan of this show before. I remember when it premiered. It was 2019, and I was in 11th grade. I was probably 15, 16 years old, and this was the dream of everyone studying in the art school that I was in. Again, I remember where I was. It was lunch break. We were at the cafeteria, me and my friends at the time, and there were no tables available, so we sat on the floor with our lukewarm lunches that we brought from home or that we bought at the cafeteria. And I watched the show on a friend of mine's iPhone. We could not hear anything, and I can't remember if it had subtitles or if we were just really straining to hear what the characters were saying, and I was a fan of it. I really liked it. My favorite character was Serpentius. I really liked his like goofy villain of the week vibes and his evil minions. I have no idea what happens to him after the pilot. I have seen pictures of him as like an angel character. Again, no clue what happens to him. I need you to understand that as a kid, seeing a pilot on YouTube get this much traction was a first. This was, I think, the indie project that opened collaborations with bigger industries for everyone else. Seeing where the series has ended, being massively successful, not indie anymore because they have big Amazon money, but being so divisive with drama after drama after drama, you either hate or you love this series and you have 50 excuses for any side that you're in. Maybe this is very personal, but I genuinely believe and feel very betrayed, disappointed, because everyone who was younger at the time, like me, looked up to this series so much, and I just feel really sad that we could have had something so good to look back on fondly as a community, to be there for the first indie project to make it big, to let this be the first stone on a path that can make, I'm probably gonna be a little mean, what Digital Circus made, where it brought indie animation out from the indie to the mainstream. It can still be made by a small studio that doesn't have to answer to any big corporation, but there's toys, there's t-shirts, there's merch of it on sale at your local store, that being official or bootlegs. The show has broken from YouTube and is seeping into the real world. I think Hazbin could have been that, and now we're just left with one of the most divisive shows that still permeates the indie space. And I know that was a little heavy, and it was very different from the experiences that I had with other shows, but I very openly say that I hate Hazbin Hotel. That is a little mean, that is very strong words to use, but it's not because the characters were weird or it was everywhere. It was because this built such high hopes for everyone in the indie animation community, and then because of the people inside the house that was making the show, things just got so bad. It was like just the murder of a dream for a lot of people, and I think that's where my feelings about it kind of come from. But yeah, I'm gonna close off that, and I'm just gonna go to some closing thoughts. Again, I can hear you saying, hey, you're only bashing on indie projects. What the hell are you doing? Why aren't you shooting for the bigger corporations? As a community, we are all part of this. Talking about these things doesn't make us bad people, as long as obviously we are respectful about it. We're not doing a lot of the things that other fandoms are doing because of very small things like doxing, harassment, bullying people off of social media platforms. I think that's ridiculous. That crosses a line. Like, if you want your indie show, support the indie show. Don't fight against it. You can be upset about things, and you can think that there are injustices in the workplace or in the show. There's something really bad going on, because it happens. Again, indie projects have the closest connections with their fandoms, but I really wish people would behave online. Like I mentioned, I understand this video is a little heavy, but I feel like I was very open-minded to a lot of these things. And I even said, hey, maybe I didn't like it, but I still support it, and I see the worth in these things. As a peace offering, I am going to tell you about some indie projects that I actually am a huge fan of. So we're gonna start with another project by Glitch, Knights of Guinevere. I am so hyped about this show. It looks wonderful. I will let my bias show. I do prefer 2D series because it's a little bit more old school. Personal preferences. A lot of my friends who are into Amazing Digital Circus do joke with me about, oh, you hate our show because you want it to end so that Glitch can put all of their work into making the show that you are passionate about. And I do lean into it like, yes, let your show die so that mine may flourish. And we do joke about it a lot. I understand perfectly that Knights of Guinevere would not have existed if TADC was never a thing, so a lot of the love that I have for Knights of Guinevere I do owe to Digital Circus, so there's that. Another one I really liked was Big Top Burger by Worthy Kids. This was a show on YouTube that ran for a few seasons, very short episodes, really lovely art style and funny writing and music. It was just such a nice experience. The show ended, I think, a few months ago by now, but it was such a lovely ride to see the characters and the show grow and have like a lot of guest stars, which was really wonderful things. And again, it was just a very small indie animation series that I loved a lot when it was still playing. A lot of you are not old enough to know what this is. I'm gonna feel a little weird in the comments. Salad Fingers by David Firth. This was one of the biggest horror weird animation series on YouTube back in the day, like way back in the, like what, 16, 19 years ago on YouTube. A lot of people were dared to watch this show as kids because it was just so gruesome and gross and it was disgusting. In reality, it was like an edgy cartoon from Newgrounds. Like, its inspiration was very clear. I'm happy to say it is still running to this day. Episodes are very sparse, but they are lovely. I love Salad Fingers. I love the characters. I love the world building. I love how surreal everything is. And again, one of my favorite shows ever. It never really made it big as far as I know, but hey, There's merch. I need to buy some stuff. Look at that plushie. Look at the Salad Fingers plushie. It's so cute. Oh my god. But yeah, I think that is pretty much the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, blah blah blah, YouTube words. If you would like to see some of my art, see me talk about other things that I don't like, but that I also do like, I am on these social medias right now, but I will leave my card in the description so that you can see every social media that I am in under the sun. If you would like to see more of my own projects and yell at me for having really bad characters and plot holes, you can visit my website. I host all my characters there, my projects, lore I make for my stories. There's a lot of heyoo stuff that I like to do. I've been really into Deltarune lately, so you're going to see a lot of that in there. Again, link in the description. And if you would like to see sneak peeks at upcoming videos, watch whatever indie animation comes out during my stream so that we can all make a watch party together, you can join our Discord server. We stream twice a week, every Friday and Saturday. Again, we draw, we watch movies, we chat about whatever's happening in the world right now, and it's lots of fun. A lot of people talk about things they like, and we all kind of share our interests together, and we are, again, very chill about it. So yeah, if you like that, link in the description. And that is pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye!